I want to start by having everyone close their eyes and imagine the 5 situations I am going to tell you. Imagine yourself falling onto an incredibly soft bed that your whole body seems to sink into. You can feel the soft sheets against your skin. Now imagine walking past a cafe that just made bread. You take in a deep breath and smell the fresh loaves on the counter. Now imagine looking into the distance, watching storm clouds move in. You see dark, billowy clouds fill the sky and the occasional lightning strike. Now imagine sitting in a theater. The show begins and you hear the opera voices fill your ears. Now imagine sitting at your family dinner table and your mother has just made your favorite meal. You take a big bite and your mouth is extremely satisfied. Now open your eyes. I just described 5 different situations where you would use your 5 different senses. In regarding our senses, many of us have been asked which of the 5 we would choose to give up. Ponder which sense you would live without. For myself, I would choose to lose my hearing. Hearing is great and the sounds of the world are so beautiful, but the deaf world is as functional as the hearing world. Today, I will speak to you about the history of the deaf community. In world history, the deaf were treated as extremely different individuals, and in some cases, were treated as a subspecies to humans. In Greek history, they thought the deaf were incapable of learning and would not let them participate in education. Also, early religious leaders thought the deaf were a representation of God's anger towards men. It wasn't until the 1600s when Pedro Ponce de Leon, a Benedictine monk, developed a method to teach the deaf to speak. Teaching the deaf to speak is called the oralist method, and it involves students learning how to form their lips and feel their neck for vibrations so they can make the right sounds. This method was successful but extremely difficult for the deaf to master. In 1760, Charles Michel de Lespée, a French priest, created a language involving finger spelling and creating shapes with hands. This language is known as sign language. By 1788, he published the French Sign Language Dictionary. This was monumental in the deaf community because it created a means for them to communicate, and along with developing the language, Lespée also opened a deaf school and taught sign. Once the deaf had a way to express themselves, deaf communities became better known and higher functioning. Deaf communities are made up of individuals and families who cannot hear, and because of the uniqueness of their lifestyles, they have formed the groups to better communicate and understand one another. The formation of these communities usually happens surrounding a school that teaches the deaf because they are so hard to come by. Although sign did not take off very fast outside of France, in 1816, Thomas Gallaudet brought sign to the United States. As sign was in America, a rather large deaf community in Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, made a few changes and created what is now known as American Sign Language. Later, Gallaudet formed the first deaf school in the United States in Hartford, Connecticut, and later influenced the construction of many more deaf schools. Due to deaf education growing, more and more opportunities started presenting themselves to the deaf. Once education improved, job opportunities started to open for the deaf, and they started to feel more equal within the hearing community. In the 21st century, due to advancements in technology, the deaf community can now function at a higher standard within the hearing world. There are online interpreters along with physical interpreters who assist in doctor's appointments, business meetings, and even cultural events. The entire deaf culture has become more efficient and productive because of these advancements. The deaf no longer are treated as a separate species and have equal opportunity in education and the workforce. Due to the high functionality of the deaf world, I would choose to lose my hearing if I had to lose one of my senses. I wanted to leave you with this pondering question. If you had to lose one of your senses, which would you choose to lose?